I gotta dance? I can't
I didn't
dance.
tell you how to dance, right?
I can't
I forgot to
dance.
tell you that part.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Opportunity Investors.
Hey, Ashley.
Steak and beer. Right here. Hey! Right here. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Springtime is here. Opportunity, life, weather. Everybody's in a much better mood. So, welcome back. Who here is here for the first time? Nice. Is this really your first time? Yeah, I'm sorry. You've been invited for like 3 years. What was your name? Keisha. Thank you for coming out. It is your first time.
Joining Dad on the trip.
Yeah, what was it? Tom?
Tom Lang?
Yeah. First time.
Tom Lang. First time offender.
So yeah, guys, the group is it's a small group. We talk about all different kinds of real estate investing here in Hampton Roads, and we try to talk about things that are relevant to now and the market that we're working in. And tonight we've got an awesome speaker, Jim Keller.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
He actually came in when we first got started. It might have been the first year.
It's actually the second year.
No, second year.
It's been a few years, right?
Shared some awesome stuff. And what's cool about this group is Jim's doing totally different stuff now. Well, maybe not totally different, but the plans switch all the time as the market switches. So it's always exciting to see somebody come in, tell us what they're doing now, and really excited to hear what you're working on. I'm not going to go too much because we are starting a little bit late like we always do.
Yep.
Before we kind of jump any further, does anybody have any deals or brags or anything they want to throw out there?
Anybody? Done a deal? Closed a deal, bought a deal, flipped a deal. Anybody? No? Okay, cool. Well, hopefully we're gonna get some more deals rolled in here. That'd be cool. Right? That's part of what this group is too, is like come here, get some deals, talk about doing business with us in the room. Right? That's what this group is about too.
Yep. So I got one brag just because I literally just moved in on Saturday. Actually, all three of you guys are there. Wow. Renovation loan, and I guess about 5 months of this or that, and the house being craziness. And the house was crazy. And every thing that could go wrong went wrong, but it still worked out. We budgeted enough, and now we're in the house, and it's awesome. So it does. If you stick to it, eventually it will come to fruition. But yeah, usually there's somebody standing up here, not just me and Sean, that have some deals going on. But today it's just me, I guess. So I'm happy to have something to bring to the table. But yeah, next month we're gonna do hard money lending, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to let Sean take it from here and do his thing.
Awesome. So guys, online, thank you for joining us, staying with us. Appreciate it. So if hopefully all the audio and stuff is doing good for you guys in the video, as always, Vanessa and Ashley are going to help us in the background, keeping things going. So thank you, ladies. Online and here, we are full-blown back in business, right? This is going and going. Keep that going. So any feedback you guys can give us online, if you can give us here, if you have questions, ask that. If you have things you want to see, let us know. We want to bring that to the table, right? The one thing that Alex and I have done really well with this group is make it real, right? We are not bringing guys in here to sell you shit at all, because we wanted to start a group so you didn't have that, right? We want people to come in with local investors, people doing local business, and share that knowledge, right? One thing I hate the most is guys that fly in for the weekend, get you to spend $300-500, and then they're gone with your money, right? It's usually some bullshit service. So we want people that are local, doing business, to actually help you with the information, make this like a core of meeting people to actually do business with, right? And you're comfortable, you get to know that. So then you should be coming in here month after month, being like, oh, I did a deal with him, did a deal with her, right? That's what we're looking for in this business. So those guys are online, or we can get a good reach out there as well. But local guys is what we really focus on. I hope this information will help people online, but it's the reach, right? Bring more friends, bring more people. and hopefully do business here. That's what we're trying to do. So any feedback you guys give us on that Facebook group, ask questions, ideas for things you want, we're going to try to start implementing that stuff a little bit more and get more feedback from you guys. Cool. But yeah, I want Jim to really get going. Jim and I have known each other for quite some time. When I started back in 2012, and I met Jim at Tidewater Real Estate Investment Group, and him and I have worked with each other ever since then, right? Awesome guy, awesome broker, really knows the business. Love it because he's no bullshit, straight to the point. And just a really, really good guy to like be around and get real answers from, right? He's going to tell you the truth. He's not going to bullshit and cover it, right? And if you don't like that, don't talk to him because he's going to keep it real. So thank you for joining us again. I appreciate it. And I just want you to like rip through and have some fun.
A couple real quick things. My name is Jim Callahan. I own a company called J. Cal Investments. It's a investment company. My license plate says flip it. I've probably flipped about 150 houses in the last 10 to 12 years or so. I've been in the real estate business for about 20 years. I did want to talk a couple comments against Sean, which I'm shocked. One very important thing, do not trust anyone who wears flip-flops in the wintertime. He usually has flip-flops on his feet. He does not have flip-flops. And I asked him, what should I wear tonight? I didn't know what to wear. So he sent me a picture of a guy in a mankini, and it just happens to be a picture of him. For those online, is that camera, can the camera see that? This is him in a mankini. Sorry about embarrassing you on that. Just a couple more minutes on who I am, I think, because I think it's a little bit important. First of all, how many people have never flipped a house before, brand new in this business? Couple new people? Okay. Getting started now is it's a tough market to get started in the flipping business right now. I started about 20 years ago with real estate. I started with a guy that I played co-ed softball with. He primarily went to foreclosure auctions, and he taught me the business. After about 4 years, I realized I wanted to do my own thing. So I started about 16 years ago, started a brokerage business, a rental business, and a flipping business. So one of the things I like to bring up is my father. He died 7 years ago. He was a high school dropout, joined the military at age 17. I guess you can get signatures from your parents to start before you're 18. He worked in a factory all his life. I never lived in a house until I bought my first house myself. I lived in apartment complexes, but he was really big with the cliches. One was birds of a feather flock together. You guys are here because you want to network with other people. You want to try to, by far, the biggest benefit to me was networking with other investors. That investor that got me started with the business, we're really good friends. I have a good friend right there, Tom Lang. We have lunch on a regular basis. We talk about real estate. He's also a hard money lender too. Finding funds is difficult to find as well. Networking with as many people as you can, every opportunity you get. Tidewater Real Estate Investment Group, I recommend you go there too. The more people you know, the more people you talk to, the more opportunities you'll have, the more doors that will open. So I highly suggest you do that. There was one that really has nothing to do with real estate, but it has something to do with who I am. My father said, you probably tell all your kids, try your best no matter what you do. I remember my father telling me, I can't remember how old I was. He said, try your best, no matter what you do. I don't care if you're a shit shoveler, you make sure you're the best shit shoveler there is. So I actually, when I was in college, I actually got a chance to shovel some shit. So I took advantage of that. It was actually an opera at the Hartford Civic Center in Connecticut where I grew up. And they had jungle animals. They had elephants, they had llamas, they had tigers. And my job was to follow the elephant with a dumpster and a shovel. And I actually volunteered for it just so I could tell my father, I shoveled shit today. So every job you do, I feel you should try to do your best. I did various sales jobs when I graduated from college. And almost every single one, I started off doing great, but I also knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to make my own decisions. I didn't want to have to go to meetings on a regular basis or have a manager or a branch manager. And I finally did that, but it took me 42 years before I got to that point. You guys are a lot younger than I am, so you're starting off much younger, which is good. So I've been in the real estate business for about 20 years now, 4 with the gentleman that got me started in the business and about 16 years on my own. The other is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, these are standard cliches. How many people here are real estate agents? Are there any real estate agents here? Okay, that's awesome. I sat down with, I think Tom and I, we've discussed this at lunch. I've discussed it with other real estate friends that I have. We came up with 17 different ways you can make money in real estate. There's not too many businesses you can make money in multiple different ways. I make money in 5 different ways in real estate right now, and I'm looking at other things as well too. But I'm also getting at an age where I want to start slowing down, spending more time with my grandkids. Right now I work 60, 70 hours a week because I'm not a couch. Well, one reason I'm not a couch potato, and I can't sit still. I like doing stuff. I'm a one-man flipping company. I am the project manager. I'm the estimator. I delivered a truckload of tile today to one of my contractors. I don't suggest you do it that way. You need to find out what's best for you, what works for you. You may be, I don't know, Sean, you're a project manager, or you don't do much renovating right now, but most flippers have project managers, they have estimators. You need to figure out what works best for you when you get in this business. And the business changes, it cycles. The last couple of years the pandemic has definitely affected the business. And I was just telling Sean, 2020 financially was my best year ever. The reason was that I sold off a lot of my rental properties because I was able to sell them for a premium, where maybe 5 years ago or 5 years from now, I may not be able to sell them as a premium. So I was able to get a lot of cash on hand. In 2021 looks like a pretty good year as well. But the other thing is, we talked about not putting all your eggs in one basket. Try to look to see what other ways to make money in real estate. If you don't have a real estate license, get a real estate license. If you have, dealing with contractors has been an issue too in this market. I have 3 different crews right now, and for the first time in 10 years, I told one of my crews, I may not have any work for you next week. I do have 3 properties under contract right now, which is good, but all 3 of them have issues. I have a judgment on one that's taken a while to clear. I have another one where tenants don't want to move out. That we're actually going on our 3rd month on the tenants moving out. So you're always going to get hurdles in this business. How you address them and how you accept them and how you factor them in your business is up to you and what works better for you. I started accumulating rentals really fast, mostly by using hard money lenders like Tom Lang, and I had a couple other investor friends that would loan me money that I created relationships with. A lot of hard money lenders, they'll only pay you or give you 70, 80% of purchase price. I got some because I've developed relationships and they know they'll get their money back. They'll pay me not only purchase price, but renovation costs as well. But I second guess myself on a regular basis too. I got my daughter and son-in-law started in Richmond, and the biggest thing I told them is control your debt. When I started buying rentals, I bought a 40 unit, a 28 unit, and a 24 townhouse unit from different sellers. So I actually got up to 158 units, and I'm thinking, wow, this is awesome. I'm gonna finally get the money that I'm looking for and live the dream that I dreamed of. But right now I have 32 doors now, 32 tenants right now, and I'm making more money on those 32 than I was with the 158. And the 158 was complete, the biggest stressful, most stressful 2 years of my life. They were mostly lower income, which is nothing wrong with lower income. That's how I got started. I bought the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 duplexes in downtown Portsmouth. But you're dealing with lower rents, $600, $700 rents. You're dealing with tenants that struggle. They struggle to pay. You're dealing with typically older properties, so you have more maintenance issues too. I finally got rid of all those issues, and I'm less stressed and making more money because my average rent now, instead of $600 to $700 a rent, is $1,200 per month. I have better tenants. I'm renovating the property, so I have better properties, less maintenance issues, and that's you have to determine what your risk factor is. Everyone has their own risk factor. You may have no problem dealing with 3 to 5 calls a day where tenants say there's mold underneath the sink, my kid can't breathe. I tripped on a step outside my apartment. What are you going to do about it? There's rats in the walls get a call at midnight. I had property manager, but the property manager would call me and say, what are we going to do about it? That you may be perfectly fine with that. I'm not. I couldn't deal with it. So I got rid of those properties, and you have to constantly adjust. Things change by year. The pandemic obviously affect how real estate is. Right now, everybody has their own opinion of what's going to happen with the market. Interest rates are creeping up. My gut feeling is that, and my thought process is, a lot of buyers have been spoiled over the last few years, getting under 3% interest rates. That's phenomenal. But I don't think we're going to see that for quite a while at this point. I really think it could creep up to as much as 6%, but it could take a while before that happens. But there's still a shortage of properties. I don't think we're going to see the crash like we saw in 2007, 2008. Could be wrong. Again, this is just my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, but it's a little bit different there. The pandemic prices for all material has gone up. I typically, my thought process when I go into a property is the first thing you see is landscaping and the front door. Yeah, first impressions are important, I feel, in the flipping business. There's a lot of flippers out there, and their quality of work is not as good as what I think mine is. But I'm still only as good as the contractors I hire. I prefer the mom and pop guys out there. They will typically work for Saturdays and Sundays for you. They'll typically, if you have 2 home inspection items that weren't done that need to be done the day before closing, they'll do that. Or an A contractor may not, and an A contractor is probably going to charge a lot more too. But you also have to be. There's just so many different things you have to be aware of. Getting permits versus not getting permits, and I could bounce around all day on that. But the 2 biggest thing is network and keep networking with people. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try to get involved with as many real estate revenue sources as you can. And how many people in here are gamblers, where you like to go to casinos, buy scratch tickets? Anybody in here? I like going to casinos. I like playing poker. You got to be careful with that too, because I feel like some of the real estate decisions I've made were gambling related, where I was over eager to buy something and I didn't do my due diligence. On that 40 unit that I mentioned, I bought a 40 unit. Quick story on that one. I got the deal from BB&T. They're 3 80-year-old men. One recently died. They just wanted to sell it for what they owed on the balance of their loan, which was 50% of the value of the property. So I'm thinking, this is it. This is my biggest deal in my life. Things are going to be great. I got the rent rolls. I went to 5 properties and said, oh, it needs carpet and paint, not a big deal. And I thought I was going to walk in the door with a positive cash flow of $10,000 a month just on that one property. So I'm thinking, this is it. I made it finally. Guess what? The day after I closed, instead of there being 37 tenants that I thought there were out of 40, there were 17. So instead of renovating 3 properties, I had to renovate 23 properties. and get much less rent. So I actually borrowed another $200,000 from another hard money lender, and the stress grew over a span of a year and a half with that particular property. So I went from a $10,000 positive cash flow to a $10,000 negative cash flow. And then the same thing happened with the 28 unit too. The townhouses was a little bit different animal, but I was too eager to buy. So I highly recommend do your due diligence, spend the extra time. If you don't get the deal, you don't get the deal. Make sure you're making the right decision. You feel comfortable with the decision. When I look at a flip property, I look at an A, B, and C scenario. A is what's the most I could possibly make on that, and that I look at a $40,000 profit when I buy a flip property. My average over prior to the pandemic was $26,000 because I almost always had additional renovations that I needed to do to make the property look as good as I wanted it to look. But a B deal is making not 40, but maybe 30,000. A C deal is maybe making $20,000 to $15,000 deal. And can I live with the C deal is what I'd say before I make an offer. But like I said, that gambling mentality sometimes kicks in with you, and your eagerness kicks in with you, saying, "Well, I know it's going to be 40,000," when it really isn't. It ends up being a $15,000 to $20,000 deal. But I've done about 150 properties over the last 12 years or so. I think, Tom, how many properties have you done? Hundreds, many more than that. So I've only lost money on 3 properties. So that I feel that's a pretty good run, and the average has been 26,000. Over the pandemic, the average has been over $40,000 a property because it's just a crazy seller's market right now. And I think it's going to be a seller's market for many months. I think at least through the end of the year, beginning of next year. I could be wrong, but we'll see what happens. I know you wanted to show a couple properties that I flipped recently.
We're gonna get some pictures pulled up for you, and make sure I'm unmuted here. So while we're online, guys, what we're gonna do is Jim pull up some properties that Jim's done, and he's gonna talk to those properties, and as we see the pictures, just kind of give you guys an idea of like what he went through and how he did it, right? So everybody hears all the HGTV cool shit and like, oh man, cool property, right? Like I got $1 million budget and you're a high school teacher. I hate that fucking show. I hate it. Yeah. Yeah.
Every area, every situation is a little bit different. I got my son-in-law studying here in Richmond. My son-in-law listed a house 2 weeks ago in Richmond. They got 30 offers, all over the price, all over. It's helping pay over appraisal. No home inspection. No close. It's crazy. Got to jump. There's an opportunity now. If you can find a house, that's a good trust.
So let's go through some of these pictures and just talk to maybe what it looked like before and some of the things that you did to spruce it up. Just to give everybody an idea of what you do versus what HGTV talks about.
This is a house I was out of the 150 houses that I bought. 140 of them I bought from wholesalers. I don't know how many purchased.
I lost count. We just keep it going.
This house I bought from a wholesaler was a property that I wouldn't normally buy. But again, every market's a little bit different. It was on a busy 2-lane road, a house that I would never live in. And most of the friends I know would never live in. Constant traffic on Rosemont Road. Constant traffic going by it. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch. I bought it from a wholesaler. Purchase price was $160. I put $40 into it, and I sold it for $271. Had multiple contracts on that property. And it was a quick flip too. It took less than my idea of a quick flip was under 3 months. I mean, I've had other ones. I got one right now that I'm on my 10th month. That's a whole different story, which we can talk about as well. But this one, I usually do the same or similar type things, but you have to adjust to those as well. I'm terrible with colors, and I mean, you can tell what I'm wearing now. I'm not a fashion guy. So I'm constantly talking to my daughter and my wife on what do you think of these colors. I'm still doing the grays and whites, but I'm noticing a lot of black doorknobs and black hinges and black features to properties. But I usually do similar grays and white stones with white. That's actually an electric fireplace. Probably 50% of the fireplaces of the houses I buy are completely damaged, enough where it's over $1,000 worth of damage. So anything over $1,000 bucks, I put an electric fireplace in. Under 1,000, I usually keep it as a regular fireplace. But again, this is something that I do specifically. I always try to make it the old bigger is better scenario. I knock down walls when I can, open up floor plans when I can, make it feel bigger when you walk through that front door. Make sure you have good landscaping. When you open that front door, it has to have the wow factor. And one big thing that I have with my contractors is that the little things do matter. They matter to me. They may not matter to other investors, other flippers. My thought process, if Tom has I don't want to say, let's just say he has some lint on his shoulder right now and I'm talking to him, my eyeballs go into that lint on the shoulder rather than a snot in his nose or something. But it's just a normal thing where your eyeball goes to the defect in the property rather than, so that first impression when you walk through that door is extremely important to me. This market, you can get away with a little bit less renovations, I feel. I'm doing less landscaping now. If the roof has no visible leaks, I'm not replacing roofs. If the heat and air is working fine, I'm not replacing heat and air. So my budgets have also gone down as well. Something that I maybe would have spent $50,000, $60,000 on, I'm spending 30, 40, but that 30, 40 is also 10 to 15% higher because of material costs. And dealing with contractors is by far the biggest headache I have with flip properties. This is the same house. Yes, a small kitchen. I like to do some color on the doors. Sometimes we'll do blue, sometimes we'll do even yellow. Again, grays and whites are something I use on a regular basis, but you got to find what you feel comfortable, what you like.
This is still Rosemont?
Yeah, that's Rosemont. That's the hall bathroom.
That's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
That's different. This is Brian. This is 548 Brian.
Okay, 548 Brian I bought from a auctioneer. One of the big issues right now is finding properties. I've been fortunate enough where I've developed relationships with, Sean hasn't sold me one in a while, so I'll be talking to him about that later. But I developed relationships with other wholesalers where they know if they call me and I make an offer, I will close on the deal. And they also know that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, they're going to have a decent house they have the equity in the house to make some money on that property as well. So developing relationship with hard money lenders is important too. I have about 3 or 4 different hard money lenders that I use. And most of them, like I said, because I've developed relationships with them, will loan me money for the entire cost of the property as well as renovations. But I don't necessarily advise you to go in that direction. If you have the funds, it's always better, I think, to use your money rather than pay 10, 12% interest rate and points on a property, because that can add up. The property that I was mentioned a little while ago, I'm in my 10th month on. It's off of Shore Drive near Little Creek. I bought it 10 months ago. I'm paying 10% interest. I paid 3 points on it. So I'm paying about, if you include taxes, insurance, utilities, I'm paying about $4,000 a month. So I'm into it $40,000 right now, and it's still not done. The reason I'm into it right now is because I didn't have any licensed contractors, and we had to pull a whole bunch of permits. So I actually took them off that property to finish properties I know I could flip right away, get cash right away, and finish those. But hopefully we're going to finish that property in the next 30 days. The fortunate thing for something, that $40,000 mistake, the fortunate thing is when I bought that property, I thought I could sell it for $499.9. I'm confident I can sell it for $549.9 right now, because another comp just came up 3 houses down that justifies that price. So that will cover my cost. But in a regular market, I could potentially lose money on this property. I mean, I still might lose money on this property because it's not sold yet, but I'm confident I will make money on this property. So that can happen. Just be aware that when you borrow the money, the carrying cost adds up really fast, especially if you're paying a high. I've seen some hard money lenders out there that charge 16, 17, 18% and charge 6 to 8 points. That's a lot of money on a monthly basis. Are any people here, contractors here, where you actually do your own work? That I don't. I mean, I try to see everything's done so I can notice if something's not done correctly. But if you do your own work, obviously you can save some of those funds doing that. That's the 548. Yeah, I bought that from an auctioneer. And again, that's about developing relationships again. My feeling is if people like you, they want to do business with you. I mean, most people like me, I think. I don't know. I'm sure some people don't like me, but most people like me.
It's okay.
And this particular auctioneer that sold this property, I've purchased 5 properties from him in the last 12 months. And he calls me, I said, call me first. Again, he called me first because he knew I can close on the property. He knew that I probably wouldn't negotiate much with him unless the number was ridiculous. So auctioneers are a source for properties. For people that go to foreclosures are a source for properties. Sean's a source for properties. I have 3 properties right now that are under contract that all are being delayed right now. So I'm still looking for properties. I'm always looking for properties. I do hope to slow down maybe after the first of next year a little bit. And I may actually look into getting into the wholesaling market. So I might be a competitor of Sean's in about a year now. All right, that one I bought for, what did I pay for that one? I paid $145, I believe. That's a property in the Aragon area, which I don't particularly love, but it's one of those tri-level properties. I think I paid $145 for it. I put in about $50, and we did have some contractor issues with that property. We had much more termite damage than I thought. So I think I put in about $50,000, but I did sell it for $325, which worked out really good.
Nice.
And I had multiple contracts in this market. But there's going to be a time, whether it's 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, where you're not going to get those multiple offers.
That looks good. So talk about for a second in your selection of materials, because anybody else want to hear about that? Like why, how, or where? Yeah. So like, what's the question you might have?
I'm just curious about what materials you use and your reasoning behind the materials.
I was told by my daughter, advised by my daughter and my wife, that grays and whites are in. So I like the grays and whites. I don't know if you can tell the full color scheme here. I almost always use white cabinets. Occasionally I'll use a gray cabinet. I do spend a lot of money with Home Depot. The cabinets are actually from a company called Paneling Factory, and they give me pretty good deals on that. But almost everything else, granite is, I use, what's the place off of, I forgot. I use a couple different granite people, and sometimes you got to choose what they have available as well. But the grays and whites I use, the relationship I have with the Home Depot is I've purchased probably $450,000 a year from them. So I have someone assigned to me. So she'll actually call me up and say, hey, Jim, we got 2 pallets of this flooring that you normally buy, and we're trying to get rid of some inventory. So I've been buying a lot of bulk stuff in the last 3 years since the pandemic started. I'll buy multiple pallets of flooring that, I mean, for example, this particular flooring, they gave me 90% off. I mean, that seems insane, right? 90% off. I think I bought 2 pallets, 5,000 square feet of flooring. It cost me $500. That's insane. You're not going to get those offers too often, but that's again about developing relationships. I just bought today. I just bought 50 lights that I use. I like to use nickel finish and stainless steel lighting in like hallways. But I use ceiling fans and other lights in kitchens and bathrooms. But I bought 50 of those for half price. So that if you can find a source where you can buy bulk, go for it. Because if you're going to stay in this business, it will pay off. Maybe not now, but 6 months from now, it may pay off. I just committed to some guy. Hopefully he didn't drop it off he didn't find it off the back of a trailer, but 3 HVAC systems. I know he didn't. I'm just joking on that. For half price. Half price on that. I use stainless steel appliances. I buy most of my stainless steel appliances from Home Depot. East Coast Appliance, if Home Depot doesn't have it, or if I need something fast, I get it from East Coast Appliance. I do pay a little bit more for that, but they usually can provide something really fast on the property. I do not, almost never, I'm still amazed by this. Nobody asked for refrigerators. Even in the buyer's market, people didn't ask for refrigerators, but I would have given it to them. I'm trying to think over the last few years, I've only put in 2 refrigerators that I can remember in the 16 years. And I put in nice ones, stainless steel ones, that's $1,000. And 150 properties, that's basically $150,000 that I've saved over these years, or $148,000 just by not putting in refrigerators. Does it visually look better when you walk in the kitchen? It does, but if it was an issue, people would have asked for it more often, I think. That's just my decision, my thought process. I always like to do backsplashes. A lot of flippers don't do backsplashes. It's maybe a couple $100 extra bucks. I think it looks a lot better with a backsplash. I like to do crown in kitchens and family rooms.
Go to that other picture of the living room. That one, because this starts to repeat itself, because you were talking about chimney issues and going electrical. So you basically shut down that chimney.
Well, this one's interesting. There was no fireplace in this property.
Oh, okay.
So not only there wasn't a regular fireplace, so we made a fireplace, and the electric fireplaces, it produces a little bit. It's not going to produce heat, but it looks kind of cool. It's got a remote. You can do multiple colors, and I get that through Home Depot too.
Nice.
And I do the gray and white stone behind it, so it looks like a regular, almost looks and feels like a regular fireplace, even though it's an electric fireplace.
And I also noticed that you consistently do the TV above it, so that's always the placement, right?
Yes.
Electrical with HDMI, is there any specific things that you do with that, or is it just like ready for TV, that's it?
Well, let's talk about the permitting issue. I mentioned before, I use mom and pop guys, and about 3-4 years ago, none of them had, well, not none of them, my plumber, my electrician, the specialty guys, the roofer, the heat and air guy, they all licensed and they can pull permits, but my regular guys were mom and pop guys that work out of their houses, work out of their trucks, and they, for some reason, they either couldn't pass the test or couldn't get their license. So I offered $1,000 for the first crew that could get the license. One finally did. So you got to get permits for. I mean, technically, a lot of these places don't have an outlet there, so you got to get a permit for that.
Yep.
You got to get a permit for it if you move any heat and air. You got to get a permit if you move any plumbing. Just for peace of mind, you're going to feel better about that as well. Because my biggest, not fear, but I sometimes have nightmares about it. I've had occasions where I'd close out a property and 2 weeks later, the people who bought the property say, hey, we got a leak in the bathroom. That kind of stuff really stresses me out. I have no control over my contractors, but they got to call me because I'm the owner of the property. And I always send my contractor if it's a plumbing issue, if it's electrical or heating and air. But it puts a thought process, if they have multiple issues, that's a whole nother story. It puts a thought process in the buyer saying, oh my God, what did we buy? I've had 2 scenarios, but in the last 12 years. I had a septic issue. Septic is different animal in Chesapeake, and I knew I needed to replace the septic, and I got quotes for $24,000, and I waited till that was the last thing we did, and we put the septic in, and the people closed on it, and it didn't work from day one. It wouldn't. So they called me up and said, "What are you going to do about it?" So I called up. I probably shouldn't do this. I never badmouth contractors, but this particular contractor I would never recommend them. But I'm not going to give the name. They're a septic company. When I asked them to quote me and put it in, they said, "Well, you got to hire an engineer to design it." So I don't know an engineer. So they recommended the engineer for $2,500. They'll design the system. So they put it in. The septic company blamed the engineer. The engineer blamed the septic company. And guess what? They both decided they weren't going to do anything. So I actually had to pay for a brand new system to another $23,000. And instead of making $30,000, I ended up making like $7,000 on that property. So I actually use that as an example if I'm talking to a homeowner on trying to buy their house, because they may say, "Well, why are you offering me $170 when this is worth $250?" It's because I got to put $40,000 into it, and it may not be $250. It may be $230 at the time that I sell the property, and I give them the example of that septic system scenario that it could be a $30,000 mistake. I've made other mistakes with crawl spaces. I highly recommend, if you have a termite company that you have a relationship with, check the crawl space out. If I see an uneven floor, I always assume a few $1,000s, but now I have a termite company actually go underneath the house and give me a quote to repair. I've had $20,000 repairs. I've had $2,000 repairs.
That happened on one that we worked with you on.
Which one?
I don't remember, but it was one that we actually had the termite guy go. You came back to us. We went and renegotiated with the seller because we had a quote for it.
Oh yeah. You're going to have examples too. I think I told you I sold a whole bunch of rentals during the pandemic. I had one triplex in Portsmouth that I knew the crawl space was a mess. I was selling it as is. I was saying, you can do all the inspections you want, but it's as is, and we can negotiate the price down. We actually had 6 different termite companies go underneath there, 6 different ones. Guess what? We had 6 different quotes, 6 different opinions of what needed to get done. And the lowest one was $6,500. The highest one was JES.
No.
Guess what their quote was?
$23,000.
$35,000. I had the other 4 of them were from $6,000 to $10,000. I had one at $12,000, and I ended up dropping the price $10,000 to get the deal, which was still a good deal for me, just to get rid of the property. But crawl spaces are absolutely a big issue, I think, as a flipper. And a highly
standpoint, a lender wants to be sure that they're
Oh,
solid.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's, hey, that's a big fuck up. $10,000
Oh, yeah.
or more.
yeah,
Especially JES is coming in.
I had one property where we replaced.
That's online.
I had one property on Shepherd's Quarter. Did you loan me money on that one? I think he was the hard money lender on that one. $22,000 floor, but I knew I budgeted $20,000, so I was off a little bit. Almost every joint and every beam had to be replaced in the property, which it was, and it worked out to be a good sale, and I made a good profit on the property.
So let's go through some Q&A, and I think Jim has shared a lot of information with you guys about the good, the bad, the ugly of like flipping, right? So it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but there's some good deals. So what do you guys have some questions for Jim on specifics? And this is just like random fire it off. And guys online too, write us some questions in there so Ashley and Vanessa can let us know.
Are you getting additional value from the electric fireplaces from the appraiser?
And then what we're going to do, guys, is give you guys a mic so they can hear you online. You're not going to hear yourself. It's just online.
Am I getting additional value for the electric fireplaces? No. But I think visually, and the buyers seem to like them. Buyers seem to like and they're not, that was a 48 wide one. They have 54. They have all different sizes. I think that was $299, and you got to get the electric to it as well. So the cost of it was minimal. And it looks,
Are you putting on rotation? A couple years ago compared to now. So you're buying things on the street that's busy. Would you have bought that a couple years ago?
no, I absolutely would not have. I would not have. That first house that we saw was on a 2-lane house. I would not have purchased that property. I usually don't purchase anything that I can't make a 2-bathroom house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I can't remember the last time. I don't think I've purchased any 2-bedroom houses. I had some rentals that are 2-bedroom, but 3 bedrooms, minimum 2-bath. But there's exceptions to every rule. I just signed a contract, ratified a contract for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and there is actually room to convert the garage into a master bedroom with a bath. But in this market, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sell it as a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and instead of doing a $40,000 renovation, I'll do a $23,000 renovation. I just think I can get away with doing that in this market. How much longer? I don't know. I'll find out fast enough.
Okay, that was a good one. Anybody else?
Are you seeing energy efficiency becoming more of a priority or
Is,
less?
say that again?
Are you seeing that energy efficiency is becoming more of a priority or a request?
Not really. No, not really. Especially again, a seller's market. People are concerned about whether they like the house, whether they want it fits their needs on the property. But I haven't had that issue at all.
So like your electric bill's going up, your gas bill's going up. You want a house or not? Right? That's a good one though. I like that. That's something that I've never heard in a while. What else?
To go back farther, I had the largest renovation I did was $130,000 in the Lagamar part of Virginia Beach. The electric bill, the first electrical bill I got was $730. I'm thinking, holy crap, what happened here? It shouldn't be $730. This was a vacant property. Because my contractors were leaving the doors wide open while they're working in the middle of winter. $731 was the electric bill there. See, those can add up really fast. Gas bills can add up really fast too. Actually, I just ratified a contract yesterday, and I'm probably going to call up some investors to get their advice. It has a oil tank. I've purchased other properties with oil tanks, and I always get rid of them and put in a heat pump. I'm thinking about keeping it. It works fine.
Still buy it, man.
It's still working, but oil's obviously going up dramatically in price. So I got to weigh the numbers on that one. I haven't decided. I already committed to buying the property, but I haven't committed whether I'm going to do a $25,000 renovation or a $50,000 renovation.
That's a good one. What else?
So, have you seen a change in investing more into like properties where you can have 4 single tenants into, 4-bath properties versus like a single family?
It's like a boarding home.
Yes.
Like
A boarding house.
Yeah, or just with this, like I said, nowadays people coming and rooming with people, 4 tenants, 1 building.
Yeah, I looked at when I first started talking about numerous ways to make money in real estate. I actually looked at a boarding house scenario about 5 years ago. It was a brick ranch. They actually had a nurse on staff that would go to the house, and they had 4 bedrooms, a 4 elderly person living there, and they were getting $1,000 a person. So they're getting $4,000 a month on a 1,500 square foot ranch. That is just another way of making money in real estate. Airbnbs are big now too. I've not personally done. Have you done any Airbnbs yet? How about you? Have you done it yet?
No, we had Carrie come in and talk about this.
My daughter in Richmond turned one of her duplex into an Airbnb. It took about 4 or 5 months, but she's now making more renting a Thursday, Friday, Saturday than the full week than she was with a regular tenant. So there's, like I said, I came up with 17 different ways to make money in real estate. Get your license is one way. Be a wholesaler, be a bird dogger. I mean, there's a million different ways you can do it.
Those are good questions. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have any advice on managing contractors? They haven't worked with before. Like, how much
Yeah.
are you there on top of them?
I'm going to repeat that.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for working with contractors so that everybody online can hear that?
Yes, my experience with contractors are, I mentioned I have 3 different crews, and each crew is a little bit different. You have to be a counselor. You got to be a dad. I mean, I feel like I'm a father to some of these guys are 55, 60 years old working, and I'm talking to them like a dad sometimes. I think most of them like the idea, not like the idea. I mean, I'm not friends with them but I'm nice to them. We communicate, we talk about family, we talk about things like that. But I have a brother, 2 brothers that work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are there every single day at 6 to 2, but they will not work at 2:01. They're gone. But they also do, I would say, B+ work there, and they show up all the time. But I constantly have to pat them on the back. If I criticize something or say, gee, that doesn't look right, or you made a mistake here, I got to choose my words carefully. Again, I use mom and pop guys. The A contractors I've tried 5 times in the last 16 years, only 5 times, all 5 times has not been a good experience. A contractors. I have not had a good experience with A contractors, but it could be different with you guys. Like I said, their pricing is at least 2 times higher. One scenario I can remember, he had to put in 3 headers. We had to get, at that time I didn't have anyone to pull permits. It took him, my guys could have done it in a day and a half. It took him 3.5 weeks to get it done because he only showed up for 2 hours one day because he's juggling multiple jobs. And I would bug him, say, I need you to finish this because we can't finish the painting till you finish this. Everything has some steps. Some things have to be done before you can do other things, obviously, in the property. And the contractors you're only as good as the contractors you hire, but even A contractors are only as good as the people they hire. You may hire an A contractor, but they got some 19-year-old doing the work in the property that doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, I have one that I think I told I've only been sued 1 time, and that was the septic issue, which I had no choice. I had to give him a new septic. But there was one other one where I hired some contractors that hadn't used it, and they covered up some stuff. But they hired American Mechanicals, a contractor, the buyers did, after they moved in, and they pulled up some flooring. Now we put in, it was a big house. We probably put in 3,000 square foot of flooring on the bottom floor. It was a 2-story house. And they somehow convinced them, you need to pull up all this flooring, throw it in the dumpster, because there was one crack underneath one of the pieces of flooring, and it didn't have a moisture barrier. Guess what? It comes with a moisture barrier. And this contractor, a contractor, didn't know that. The actual piece of laminate came with a moisture barrier. It's part of the laminate. But that kind of stuff bothers me more than anything. I'm still would not be surprised if I get something in the mail a month from now saying, hey, we want you to reimburse us for that $3,000 of flooring they pulled up. They literally pulled up $3,000 of good flooring because of a crack in the slab, a small crack in the slab that my contractors covered up. I didn't know they covered it up. And I would have said, okay, we'll take care of that crack and put the flooring back down for a couple $100. That probably cost them, who knows, 10 grand to redo what these guys convinced them to do. And that was an A contractor. So A contractors aren't always better. I have another crew that the guy that got the license, but he's so slow. I think he does A work. I don't think anybody does A+ work, A work, but he's so slow. And I mean, he'll take twice. If he tells you can get it done in 2 months, you got to double it. And the other one is a real eager young guy. He'll be the type of guy that will crawl under a crawl space for you to remove debris in a crawl space for a home inspection item. Not too many contractors will do that, but his quality of work is the worst of the 3. So you have to kind of weigh what the talent of each contractor is, the personality of every contractor is, and the cost of each contractor is. So it's different for every single contractor. But
No crystal ball.
I am getting to a point in my life where
Bullet.
I am getting to a point in my life where I'm tired of being a counselor to contractors too. You know?
There's a fee for that.
Yeah.
One thing a contractor also make sure that they line items of what they will and will not do, and have it very detailed out with it, so that way they can't say, oh, I didn't say I'd do that, when really they provided that, they can't provide it.
Yeah, I tried a custom at that Rosemont house. I actually tried. None of my contractors were available. And another investor gave me a guy's name, and he does custom work. He's really good at trim work, but he said, "Well, I went by there and there was debris all over the floor from him. Well, I don't clean up. I won't clean that up." He said that. I'm not cleaning that up. Right. Every contractor is different. You have to find out what they are willing to do and what they're not willing to do.
It was his trash, and he said he wouldn't clean it up?
It was his trash. He would not clean it up. He says, I just do this. I'm not cleaning up. Sorry.
I only install, I don't clean up. And that goes back to your scope of work, independent contractor agreement, all that kind of stuff up front, because you guys are very clear with each other. What I promise you is selective memory comes in play really fast. I never said that. I don't care what you said. It's what I signed, right? And penalties. Do you put that in your? Do you do paperwork and penalties? I know you and I've talked about this over the years, but
I'm a wimp. I'm too easy with tenants and with contractors. I've fired some of these contractors a couple of times, but I hire them 3 days later because the grass is not always greener when you're looking for other contractors too. I know some investors, they have a 9-page contract that the contractor I have to sign. I don't smoke cigarettes. A lot of these contractors smoke. That irritates the hell out of me when I see cigarette butts on the sidewalk near the front door. And I make them clean that up. But it still irritates me to see it all the time. Or they're taking cigarette breaks every 20 minutes too. The guy that's real slow, he's got him and 2 other guys. They all smoke cigarettes, and I know that slows down their process. But I can't say, well, you need to quit smoking. I'm not going to do that. So I factor in, okay, instead of spending $30,000 on that property, it's going to cost me $40,000 on that property with this particular crew. So each crew you have, each contractor you have to factor in their costs and how long it's going to take.
that was a good one. I like that.
When you're looking at a potential opportunity, is there kind of a formula that you look at a property? What makes a deal for you?
I'll talk about the property I just saw in Fairmount Park in Norfolk. It's off near Chesapeake Boulevard. I don't know if you know the area. If you go on one side of the street, it's really low income, not a great neighborhood. On the other side of the street, it's okay. I just wrote a contract on it's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And it's kind of weird. Instead of an attic, it has a pull down stairs. But there's 500 square feet of livable space upstairs. So somehow I can either sell it as a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and less square footage, or I can figure out a way to put a staircase in there and possibly sell it for more. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do on that property, but I only signed off on it because I flipped another property 9 months ago, and that literally 4 doors down, and I had multiple offers and it sold really fast. If I hadn't flipped that other property, I probably would have passed on it because neighborhoods do count. If it's a crummy neighborhood, I don't care, even if it's a great market, you still got to weigh whether or not the cost of the property is worth selling the property in that particular neighborhood. So neighborhood's always going to be important regardless of whether it's a seller's or buyer's market.
I got a question.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Well, I was kind of looking more metrics stuff.
Numbers.
Yeah, your numbers.
Yeah, I'll go back to that same example. I just agreed to pay $127 for the property. I think when I first started, I said I look at what do I have to do to make $40,000 on this property. That's best case scenario. What's worst case scenario is maybe I'll make $15,000 to $20,000. So if I feel comfortable with that $15,000 or $20,000, I don't look at the 40. I look at the lower. Well, if I feel comfortable that worst case scenario, I can make $15,000 to $20,000 on the property, And that might be no stairway, sell it as a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, but I still make 15 to 20, and I flip it within 2 months rather than 4 months. So I do it at the ABC. Best case scenario, 40,000, maybe 30,000, and worst case scenario, $15,000 to $20,000. So when you get down to the $10,000, one mistake can erase that real quick. So you got to be careful to get
How do
too
you
low.
reverse engineer that on an equation? So it's going to sell for what?
I'm confident if I leave it as a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, I can sell it for 220. Is my confidence.
How do you calculate that down?
Use a percentage.
Pardon me?
Use a percentage on your gain.
I look at dollar amount rather than percentage.
You're not doing a $700,000 deal. I'm thinking you're
No,
gonna make $40,000.
700,000. That $729,000 deal. I went in the door there hoping I'd make 80. I did make 62, which is good. It's still good, but I would have done things a little bit different on that one. I misjudged the renovation dollars on that one. I think I budgeted 100 and it was
I
100.
think I know where you're going with this, and JP's going for like everybody talks about that formula, the Mayo formula. Do you use that at all?
Well, Sean, you've got your formula.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
want to see if this is where JP's going
Yeah.
with this question, because I feel like that's the metric he's looking for is like, how do you calculate your numbers? How do you back into this math and say, I realize loan to value is this, retail's that, loan to value is this, rehab's that, I can pay this.
When I'm looking at a property, I check to see what the comps are. See the best comp versus the worst comp. Again, determine what the A, B, and C price is. Then I try to determine, make a list of what the renovations are going to be, the time frame it's going to take, what kind of, do I have a loan? What is the carrying cost for that? And I come up with a number saying, okay, worst case scenario, I'm going to make 15 to 20, best case 40 to 50. So that's how I do it. I mean, some people have spreadsheets and they do, I do it simple. I write it out on a piece of paper. I don't suggest you, if you got a computer program spreadsheet, definitely use that.
Nerd out, get some numbers, right? And I would say stick to that 70 to 80% loan to value, because that's where these guys are figuring out their math. However they do it, that's as a wholesale model / what you should be doing the same math as. The only number you're not taking out is the wholesale fee. That's the only number you're not taking out.
I think there's also a lot of people who just say, look, if I'm not making 15 to 20K, I'm not doing a deal.
But how do you get there, I think, is where JP's going.
Well,
right.
I mean, some people just go through all the numbers and say it's going to cost me X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
But you hear
Your
like
way's a
Jim
lot
does.
easier because that's how you roll.
Right, we have to because of the way we formulate, and we did this when we were heavy in rehabbing, right? We did the same thing because we need to contract up. We want to hold it and take it down and do it. And our numbers work. We got an extra 15 grand on top of it. If not, we're going to go sell it to the guy that it still works for. That's what I think you're trying to get to, and that's why Jim and I have been able to do so many deals, is because the math that he does is the same math that we do with a small difference in between. It's the knowing your rehab budget, knowing your true comps, and knowing what your time frame is it's going to take to do it, right?
Costs.
Yeah, and I make mistakes all the time. Some little, some big, and probably the biggest mistake is how long it takes to get the job done, and that's you can't always control every aspect of that too, because you can't necessarily control a contractor. I had one crew in that $549,000 house. They were all sick the last 2 days. I don't know if that's true or not, but they didn't show up for work.
Brown bottle flu.
Yeah. So you got to factor in a lot of different things. And my thought process is if you can live with worst case scenario, if you look at worst case scenarios, you can't sell it at all, and you got to keep it as a rental. That's worst case scenario. And if you can live with that rental income to cover your costs, then if that's worst case scenario, I think that's a good deal, because best case scenario could be a lot more.
So you're looking at wholesale property, 70% LTV. Is that
Yep.
your matrix?
Yeah. So, and I'm not going to dive into wholesaling stuff, but I think from the buyer's market today, just like from a lending perspective, they don't want to be more than 70% loan to value because it's really safe, right? And they're going to get some money down for, just in case. Now, somebody's got some skin in the game, they're not going to walk their ass off too easily, right? You bring $5,000, $10,000 to the table, you got a little second thought going through your head before you're just like, yeah, I'll give it back to the guy, right? From a lending perspective, they're more safe. They're a lot safer at 70% loan to value. And then as they let money out for rehab, that's as the property increases in value, right? So that becomes safer, safer, safer. So yeah, I think 70 to 80%, because at max 75, at the high end, you might be 80%, because you get those kind of relationships. You know Jim's not going to fuck up, and if he does, he's got the fortitude to fix it, right? Versus a brand new borrower, you might not give them more than 70% loan to value, but you only fund 90% of the purchase price and 100% of rehab over time. So they got to bring a lot more money to the table, a lot more skin in the game.
Yeah, most hard money lenders want to see skin in the game, so that so you have an incentive to make sure everything goes fine.
These are good questions, guys. So yeah. So
Nope,
just to let you guys know,
you've
we're gonna
maxed
start
out.
wrapping up here a little bit, and then I want you guys to be able to hang out and be able to ask some questions, network, talk to each other, and really just kind of hang out and beat Jim up as much as you can. Questions wise.
So I think a big thing for anyone, especially trying to get into the game, is that first deal. Right?
Yep.
Like, can you kind of take us back to your first deal? Like, well, like the mindset.
Yeah,
or like,
Take it back to when
you
you
know,
use tablets and stones.
I mean, I know this,
Actually,
but I mean, I think that's like.
I will tell you my first deal. I don't know if he remembers it. My first deal was through him.
Okay.
It was a townhouse. You wholesaled it to me, I believe. Townhouse in Virginia Beach. It had to be 12 years ago, maybe about 12 years ago. I can't remember the numbers, but the numbers, if I remember, I saw an opportunity to make $25,000 to $30,000, and I did make that. I think I made like $26,000 on that first deal, and it was a townhouse in Virginia Beach. And he was partners with a couple other guys. Now you're on your own now, and they did a lot of foreclosures. You bought most of your stuff through foreclosures, right? Most of it. So he'd go to foreclosure auctions and wholesale a lot of it out.
Oh, you bought it from Cuffy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how I actually got started with credit lines with BB&T. BB&T, I had decent credit, and I think they started me off at like a $250,000 credit line. Then I got one with Old Point Bank. Then I got one with the Union Bank. But guess what? Then they started adding additional steps on it. Instead of taking 2 to 3 weeks to get the process, they wanted full appraisals. They wanted reevaluate your bank statements, and it would take 4 to 6 weeks to actually get the loan, and that made it difficult to try to close fast with a wholesaler, which that's what they want. They want to close fast. So I used the credit lines the first 4 to 5 years of my business. Then I went to hard money lenders after that. Because again, that's something you have to determine what's best for you. The interest rates were a lot less. I can't remember what they were. There might have been 5% from the banks, principal and interest too, not interest only. But if you kept losing deals on it, it wasn't worth it for me so I started paying the 10%.
And we're going to really dive into that next month from a hard money lending perspective, because I think one of the big things I want people to realize is it's not the cost of the money. It's the cost of losing the deal, right? And as long as you factor in your cost of the money and your time, that's all that matters. As long as the deal pins out, papers out, whatever you want to call it, then go.
Yeah, you have to adjust your mindset on that, though.
Yeah.
I have a deal with Tom right now. He'll probably make more money on this last transaction we did than I did. Which
Sometimes that's how it works out. Though.
which is my thought process is good for him. Good for him. I'm still making the money that I want to make on the property. He's the hard money lender on the particular deal that we just closed on it yesterday, right? It's closed yesterday.
I bet there's been a time or two when you made some more money than him. On
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
That's a big part we'll get into next month. So for the guys that are listening online and here, I want you guys to realize, like, from a person that's been at hard money and recently started to put a few loans out, you need to look at those guys as a safety net. They're not going to allow you to fuck up their money. They're going to be very tight. Yeah. Yes. They're going to make sure that you're doing it right.
Well,
right?
I'm curious, Tom, have you ever had to foreclose on anybody? You have? Okay.
Yeah. And that's just part of the game, right? Like there's a risk reward for that, and it's going to happen. But I would look at anybody from a hard. And here's the other people say like hard money. It's hard to get. Oh shit, real easy to get if the numbers work. The reason it's called hard money is because it's against a hard asset. It's not hard to get at all as long as you pencil out your numbers. We're going to get really detailed into that next month. I've got 2 different people that we're going to talk to. Anybody know the name Debbie Decker? Do you know that, Tom, at all? She's out of Northern Virginia, and she's been with the private money company for probably the past 10 years. Her and her brother and her family started this company a while ago, and she brokers it out for them, and she runs it, right? She's very straight up. She's very quick. She's very fast with her numbers, and she doesn't drag things out. But she's also going to be that person to tell you straight off the cuff, this is shit. You're not going anywhere with this. There's no way this is going to work, right? So that's another piece is like, is that person you're trying to work with helping you? Or is it just a person you get online with some of these big companies that are just taking your money, trying to pay these fees? So, all right. So timeline wise, what time is it? Anybody got time? 9 o'clock?
Nope.
What is it? 8:52. So right at 9 o'clock. So this place shuts down at 10 o'clock. We want to have everything done by like maybe 9:30, 9:45. So you guys hang out until then. But hang out for a second. Ask some questions to Jim.
One more look at his mankini.
I like that. I am impressed with your
Good look for you, man.
computer skills. Is awesome.
That's what he grapples.
You like my cut?
That's my jiu-jitsu uniform.
You like my cut and paste?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is, so going back to your first deal and then to your second deal. So how do you take money and not get taxed on it? So in other words, did you have an LLC? And if you keep it within the LLC, does that keep it from being taxed as long as you put it into the
I did. I have 3 companies right now. I have a brokerage, and by the way, if you're not an agent, I have Coastal VA Realty. I have 17 agents. I was actually up to 30 at one point, but a lot of them moved on to do their own thing. So I have 17 agents right now, and all of them are, except for 2, are investors. So you want to find an investor-friendly agency out there that don't make you come in for duty or go to meetings on a regular basis, that let you be as independent as you want to be. So I highly recommend you get your license, because you just never know when a friend of a friend says, hey, can you help me find a house? I need to list my house. And if you're with a company like me, you can get away with discounting the listing too, because there's some flexibility there. And I have a couple agents that I probably make 15% of my income is from my brokerage, 30% from my rental company, and the rest is from my flipping company. But I also have a couple other different ways that I make money in real estate as well. And like I said, we talked before, there's 17 different ways that I came up with, and there's probably more. I'm not a wholesaler. I mean, the wholesalers do pretty well as well.
But from a tax standpoint, how do you divvy up your money? What do you do with it? I think that was the question.
So like, on a smaller scale, like me starting out, say I was going to sell a property, buy another one. So I know you can do a 1031 exchange, but what if you don't find a deal in that 60 days or whatever that is? Is there a way?
You talk to a CPA and they tell you what to do. That's what I do.
And then that's going to get back into those meetings we've had about IRAs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, for those online and here in person, go back to our website, and I think it was November meeting. We had a CPA here who talked a lot about this, and it's recorded, so it's definitely worth going back and watching that meeting.
Andrea McDonald.
Yeah, Andrea McDonald,
She's our CPA.
Pro Tax LLC.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Pro Tax Accounting. That's actually how I met Ashley.
that was the last question.
Last question. All right, well, that's it. You heard the bouncer.
That was the last
Yeah.
question.
You heard the bouncer. She called it.
You ain't gotta go. Oh,
So, all right. So we're going to wrap it up just for the online people. For here, guys, hang out, grab some beers, ask Jim some questions, network with each other, and then please come back next month. And for those that are online and here, next month we're talking about hard money. So we're going to get into some pretty detailed questions there. On deck is Debbie, and I've got in reserve 2 other lenders just in case. And it might actually be virtual where they talk through here, just because they're out in different locations. So they lend locally, but they're probably 3-5 hours away. And sometimes travel doesn't work for them. So we'll see if we can get them in town. If not, we'll definitely have it online for you. Cool?
Let's give a round of applause for Jim, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Very nice.
Good stuff.
So guys, hang out, grab some drinks, and we'll hang out for a little bit. Thank you.